I'm back from the holidays, and this is episode 20, and we're now watching the wedding show. I'm Richard McCarthy, your host tonight, and with me tonight I have Patrick Browne from Patrick Browne Designs.
How are you doing?
Patrick?
How's it going?
Good. So tonight we're going to be talking about wedding stationery and wedding invitations and everything to do with wedding stationery. Before we start, I just want to give a quick mention that the show is sponsored by MyWeddingStore.ie, your one-stop shop for everything weddings. I don't think they supply grooms yet, Mick, do they? No? Not yet, but they're working on it. And of course, this is live on Facebook. So if you have any questions or any comments or anything that you want to share with us, please make sure to comment below, and we'll have Mick helping us out with the social media as we go along. As I said, this is live, and on social media, following or watching your social media is Mick behind the scenes and also doing the production a whole lot. Unfortunately, Brian's not with us tonight, so hopefully he's watching at home. Hi, Brian. So Mick, how are you getting on tonight? He's like doing 20 things at once here. So I catch you on the hop.
Missed the button by a second. I'm live.
You live?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good.
I'm good. Yeah, everything's well. How are you, Patrick?
Not bad, yeah.
You're
I'm
looking
all right.
well.
Thank you very much.
Excellent.
So are you.
Thanks very much, sir. Thank you.
Good. Okay. Right, let's get started. Okay, so tell us about Patrick Browne Designs. We'll start there.
Basically, we're not strictly a wedding invitation company. We're
Right.
actually a graphic and web design company.
Okay.
But we fell into wedding stationery by pure accident, and never expected it to really amount to much. Just one. We thought it'd be one design job.
Yeah.
And it ended up becoming about a third of our business now.
Fantastic.
So it's grown to be quite a lot, and so it's great. My wife works with me with it.
Brilliant.
So she makes most of the cards. She's Japanese. She's got the patience for all that.
She's got the skills.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Very good. Well, I suppose, look, what we'll do is we'll start. I have a load of different questions here, but we were talking about wedding stationery etiquette, and just, I suppose, when it comes to wedding invitations, very few bride and grooms and couples out there, they've probably never done wedding invitations before and all that. So we kind of want to give them kind of a grounding in regards to where to start and how to begin. So I suppose, where should couples start when thinking about their wedding invitations?
Where they should start really is looking on Pinterest.
Okay.
That's really good, because there's so many examples there, and there can be an awful lot of, there can be almost too much for brides to look at, because it's generally the brides that go looking, and Pinterest is a good place to start, because they can search for exactly the type of cards they're looking for. Yeah. They'll also be influenced by other weddings they've gone to, and they'll know what they want, what they want and what they want to avoid, and especially if they're worried about repeating a card from before. Yeah. There might be a design they like that they can't use now, or maybe a type of card they like that they can't use because their friends already had it. Yeah. So we just say, have a good look on Pinterest. You'll see lots of inspiration there, and then see what you like, and also see what you don't like. And then we ask them to send us those examples, so we know what they're looking for, we know what they're not looking for. Yeah, exactly. It's
good. It helps you guys especially to have kind of an idea. We'll say when you're starting out in the whole lot, but we'll say what would be the most important factors, kind of from your perspective, that couples should kind of, we'll say, consider when they are kind of selecting their invitations?
I'd say one of the first things is cost, because weddings can be expensive, and brides always think that when they come to you that you're going to try and sell them the most expensive card. Yeah. They always think that, no, they don't always think that, but quite often they think that's what's going to happen, or they think they have to buy the most expensive card to have the best card. Yeah. And actually, our biggest selling card is it's kind of below the mid range. You know, it's not. I mean, my own wedding cards that when I got married last year, we just had the cheapest ones that we do. Yeah. So cost is a big factor, because it can really indicate what the final result is going to be like. Yeah. But with the work that we do strive to make sure that any of the least expensive cards, the most affordable cards, are, in our opinion, as good as the most expensive cards. It's the same materials throughout.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Well, that's good. Okay. And we'll say, is there current trends at the moment? I noticed you brought some of the cards with you in the whole lot, but is there kind of a certain trend that happens every year, or can it just be absolutely everything?
I tell you what was very popular, and still is quite popular, is the what would you call it? The pocket fold card. Yeah. But what's happened is the vintage style is very
coming
popular
back.
now.
Yeah.
Vintage is quite popular. So using this kind of craft card, and they're essentially the same. Just it's amazing how different something can look once you've got a bit of once you've got a different texture card.
Just hold it towards the camera so we can see it there.
Yeah,
we can see that
like
there.
that. I don't know if you can.
We'll see it on this camera here, but because we say you have a lot of weddings now. They're going for what's that material make? It's kind of it's like a thread.
Oh, like the
Burlap or
the
something, or-
burlap kind of twine.
Yes, exactly, that twine. So that kind of really suits with it as well.
We
that-
have this one here,
Hessian.
right?
It's called Hessian.
Hessian, that's it, yeah.
Hessian. Right.
What's one type that's quite popular at the moment is these kind of layered cards. So
Okay.
you've got a flat card, but then you've got the RSVP that would slot in.
Yep.
And this one here's got ribbon holding it in place.
Okay.
But what if
So
a bride
kind
wants
of straight. Yeah. So we can
if
see
a
it,
bride wants it to look like to have a vintage kind of look,
Mm-hmm.
then you might use a card similar to this.
Yeah.
And then instead of having shiny ribbon going around it, you might have burlap twine holding everything in place.
Yeah, I know what
with a tag. So that's quite popular as well.
Okay, well, talk us through, we'll say, like your typical wedding invitation. What's actually in the invitation? So, like, literally from the technical side, the way I'm looking at it is kind of like you have to have like the envelope, you have to have kind of a return envelope and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Talk us through kind of what normally goes in with the wedding invitation.
The basic type would be, this is my own wedding invitation from
Very
last
nice,
year.
beautiful.
Thank you very much. You'd have quite often, if you're going to have one of these type of double panelled cards, you've got the single crease in it.
Yep.
That's probably your traditional type of card.
Okay.
And you might have something like a wedding invitation, or you're invited, or something on the front, or you might have you'll often have the name of the bride and groom and the date.
Yep.
And then when you go onto the interior, you'll have the information there about what's taking place, and the reception, and the RSVP date at the bottom too.
Yeah.
This panel, when we first started off, it was often left blank,
Okay.
and so we started to utilise it.
Yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
put a little bit
Might
of
as well.
poetry here. My wife is Japanese, so we have a little bit of Japanese poetry here, but it could be something else. And our RSVP details weren't there.
Yeah.
But with this type of card, which is quite a popular card that we do, it's also essentially like the 2-panel card, but it has a third panel.
Okay, so it kind of
Which
folds
would
out.
be-
'cause it's
yeah.
kind of triptych. Yeah.
And it would have an RSVP that can go here.
Yeah.
But it also means you can incorporate a map and directions.
Very good. Can we see all that, Maker? We have to just adjust a little bit. Maker is frantically moving the camera around here so we can see these.
Should I sit that there, perhaps?
That's good.
Yeah, is that all right?
Yeah.
You can fit a lot of information
So we're just going
onto a card like that.
There we go. Good. So, and I noticed on that, with you have like the directions, like on that card itself, you have like a little map and everything as well.
Yeah.
Like, so you have the invitation itself, and then normally you will put in kind of the directions.
Yeah.
Would normally go in as well. What else would you normally put in? You'd have
Maybe accommodation details as well.
Okay.
So, like for example, with this one here, there's plenty of scope and room to have
yeah, exactly.
the
It has
accommodation details
everything,
on the
hair
back.
and beauty and
Yeah,
everything
hair
as
and
well.
beauty, hairdressers, maybe even car hire, like taxis. We can pretty much get as much information as the bride and groom want to put on, because with when you've got something like a pocket fold card or one of these kind of cards that layers up, you've got cards that can be specifically designed for certain things, like an
Yeah.
RSVP, like directions. Whereas when you've got one of the kind of traditional style cards,
Yeah.
you're much more.
Patrick, the threefold card,
Yeah.
it's much more than an invitation then, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
It's kind of
it's-
utilizing the space though better than, like, if you have a card that has very little information on it, and then you have to put all this other information in as well. I suppose it makes sense, that you're making the most of the material, because
Oh, yeah.
I'm presuming the bigger the card, the more it costs.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So like I'm thinking back to my own kind of wedding. I know that we had like sheets of paper going in that had the accommodation, and it had the recommendations for the local hotels and B&Bs, and it had directions and all this kind of stuff. But they were literally all sheets of paper. So it's lovely to have everything. And the problem was, when people got the invitation came out and it went up on the mantelpiece, but the paper got lost.
That's right.
So
yeah.
it doesn't really make sense. I love that idea of the three folds as well.
We're at a wedding show. It was a few years ago now, maybe 3 years ago. We were at a wedding show, and a girl came up to us and said, "Can you do a triple panel card, and can you get the map on there and the directions?" And before that, we were doing these type of cards.
Yeah.
And we were slotting cards in, or printing onto an A4 sheet. And that would go into the card, but again, it wasn't attached in.
Yeah.
And to get something like this is substantially cheaper than to get, say, a pocket fold card.
Yeah, exactly.
So she wanted something that was more affordable, but would still have all the information. So we said to her, okay, we'll work with you on it, and we'll come up with the design. Where should the folds go? Where should the creases go? How does the perforation work? Where we're doing it in house, and we worked with her for about 3 months on it, and that was the first time we produced that type of card. And after that, it was just a runaway success. So most of what we do are these kind of triple panel cards, as opposed to pocket folds or even just the standard variety, you know.
Okay, and regarding, we'll say, the design, you kind of talked about the material and everything as well, but the design phase and the whole lot, would say, how long should couples kind of, would say, how long would it take normally, like literally from a couple arriving to you to them getting their actual invitations? How long does that
It can be a little bit like how long is a piece of string.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes you've got brides coming to 2 years before. Other times it could be someone coming to us maybe just a few months before.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, what's quite nice is to be approached maybe 8 months to a year beforehand.
Okay.
Where we can gear up for it, where the bride can be given a bit of art direction, where she knows what she's looking for. Again, I don't mean to be sexist, but it's usually the brides that are the ones that are looking at these kind of things, and kind of 9 times out of 10, in fact. And then they will tell us the design they're looking for, and then the design. Sometimes we're doing designs that could take a couple of weeks to do, or maybe even a week to do. Yeah. Other times the design could take a few months. Where you're going back and forth with the client.
It's to get people into that concept of, look, the earlier you do it, the more time you have, so the more time that you have time to adapt if they need to change it. It's not something that can be done overnight, you know. So
it takes time. It takes time to get it right, and I mean, sometimes what they'll do is they'll choose a design that we've already got, and they'll just say, my colours are, you know, light blue and navy. So you can get a design that's maybe got lots of pinks in it. Change the colours, and sometimes it can be as easy as that. Yeah. But other times, especially when there's a bespoke card involved, that's when you can be dealing with a lot of design time and a lot of emails back and forth.
And would you normally like do up a proof before like the final production, a whole lot? So they have like a card, literally, this is the final product, this is what it's going to be like. Yeah. And then
we go back and forth with usually just PDFs. Yeah. For quite a lot of it, and although I have to say, if there's lots of pinks in there. PDFs can look pink in a PDF format can look really garish on a mobile device. Yeah, exactly. So we say we kind of figured this out after a while because a lot of brides were really balking at some of the designs we were doing, and we're going, "What do you mean you don't like it? It's lovely." Yeah. You know, and not being funny, but then it turns out it was the PDF format. Yeah. So we send them JPEGs in that situation. Okay. And then if they do want to get a printed version, we can do the printed version up and send them off. Usually they don't want it, but we can do it if they want to see it in printed format.
Yeah, because it's very important, I suppose, like from a spell check point of view and the whole lot. And the last thing you want is kind of the invitation going out and something's wrong.
Yeah, that's awfully important.
Yeah. So they would normally have to kind of make sure everything's spell checked.
We say to them, go back and you know, please check it, go through with the fine tooth comb, because it's like very easy where you can't see the wood for the trees. Yeah. And it's always when everything's almost printed.
You'd often hear, but on occasion you hear horror stories, or you turn up at the church and the mass booklet has the names from where the bride and groom have copied.
Where the text has been copied and pasted. Yeah, that's right.
Do you know what? They make the most interesting photographs when they realise. I have a couple of weddings when that's happened, and you just see the stage of photographs where the face just changes from shock, and then they realise, and then they kind of just laugh about it, you know. But I suppose, look, it's one of these things. People kind of, they just assume everything's going to be checked and the whole lot. You don't know the proper spelling for people's names. Do you know what I mean? You could have somebody spell Sean S-H-A, you know. Yeah. So there's all different ways of spelling. So it's very vital that the couples do check the proofs and the whole lot, get it right, because this goes out. You can't.
Oh yeah.
Call them back.
Right.
You know? So it's very important.
All of our you know, standard text that we use. We have dummy text for what goes in the card and for mass books and all that kind of thing. We use Aisling and Michael on everything. Just two made up people. You know, two nice names, inoffensive. You know, you can't categorize them by class or where they come from or anything like that. So we use that on everything. So sometimes the bride and groom might not change some of those out. You know, and we just, like, I live in Kilchamar, so we just put Kilchamar on everything, and sometimes they don't change that out. So, you know, they'll have the Park Hotel Kilchamar or the Claydon Hotel Kilchamar instead of, you know, somewhere where they're actually having their reception.
Very good. Are most invitations kind of custom designed, or do people tend to kind of go from kind of previous samples and go, right, I want exactly that, or I want...
I'd say it's probably about half and half.
Half and half, yeah.
Yeah, about half and half. Some people really don't care what they're looking for. They just want something with their colours on it. Other people are the absolute opposite of that and really want something different, and in which case there's a lot of work involved. Most people are somewhere in between, thank God. Sometimes they just say, that's the card I want. I want jars, or I want harps or something, and
Yeah.
you know.
What kind of unusual stuff have you been asked to do, Patrick?
You stole my question. I was just about to ask that one.
What did you do recently? Do you know we had one with a couple who they got engaged in New York in Central Park, and they had this particular picture of what's that bridge? Bow Bridge. Is that how it's?
Oh
Bow Bridge?
yes, the bridge,
That
the
very kind
the
of
kind
famous
of,
bridge
yes,
there,
it goes
and
across in
they
Central Park.
they had that, and they wanted that on the front of the card.
Lovely.
But it was coming across as a bit tacky, the way that it looked, and so we had to kind of Photoshop the picture we actually had to do a kind of a sketch in the end, and like a kind of a grunge looking kind of sketch, but the couple weren't available for the picture, so we had to get a completely different picture and put these other people in
photoshopping
and change the hair color. I mean, it was so the detail wasn't in it, so you wouldn't. There's no way you could just barely make out it was people in the picture.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know?
So it wouldn't matter. Like they weren't going to turn around and go, that wasn't me.
There's never anything like really madly unusual.
I've seen some strange ones in
really
the past.
bad.
I've seen ones where like it's like a guard of summons or something like that, court summons.
Oh right.
I've seen those ones, and I've seen my favorite one is because my wife was a GA nut, and we got invitations to a wedding, and they were Croke Park tickets. They were done in the format of like Croke Park, and the bride was from Mayo, and the groom was from I think it was from Dublin or something like that. So it was like Dublin versus Mayo, and they had the date and the time of the ceremony as the match time and all this kind of stuff. And it was very good. The Garda Summons one, I heard, didn't work out very well because a lot of people didn't want to open it, or else they tore it up and they threw it in the bin.
It looked too realistic.
It looked too realistic, so it's probably not the best idea. But I've seen them, so I suppose it comes back to the thing we say: if people are making their weddings unique, they want to do something out there. They want to do something totally different. So like I suppose it makes sense,
That's the thing. It's if you're going to go to a wedding stationer, that's generally what you're doing. You're looking to create a new kind of you're looking to create the theme for the day. You're looking to when that invite arrives that you're getting your guest's letterbox, when they open it, it should be telling them that this is going to be a different event from the other weddings they've been to. You can get your cards very cheaply online, but there's a standardization that's there that you don't get with a wedding stationer.
Exactly. And I think it's so important because it kind of gives the guests kind of a glimpse of the wedding. It gives a glimpse of what the standard is going to be for the wedding as well, and the whole lot as well. So I suppose, but like I understand from people, there's a budget involved as well. Like we say from a financial point of view, like we say, what typically would you expect couples to kind of to spend on their invitations?
I'd say our invites start at $195. And that would be
€1.95.
Yeah, that would be the basic invite, and generally speaking, our couples are spending roughly about, I'd say maybe about $295 to $345 on cards. That's the basic average.
Yeah.
Because that's what these triple panel ones would be.
Yeah.
And they're the most popular ones.
Yeah.
There is a price sensitivity there, and we understand that completely. So all of our cards, from the most expensive to the least expensive, it's the same materials throughout.
Yeah,
it's just they become more elaborate, and that's why they become more expensive.
Yeah,
one thing I would say, and just from looking at other wedding stationaries stationery companies around the country, if you are going to go down the route of getting something that's from one of the online print services, to get a decent card from them, because the very basic ones are very, very cheap, but you're getting flimsy paper, and it's flimsy card. It's usually printed on one side only. When you want to get a better card, or you want to get it printed double-sided, the cost goes up. And then by the time you're at that sort of level, you're not really much off then what a basic card would be from pretty much any wedding stationer in the country. Yeah. I think you're better off using a wedding stationer.
I agree with you, and because it comes back to the whole thing of people we'll say, oh, we'll go down the DIY route. But when you factor in all the time that it takes to design the cards and the work that goes into the cards and stuff like that, it really it can work out to be more expensive to do it yourself I
think if you're going to go down the DIY route, like we have people ringing us up, and they don't want us to do the cards for them. They just want to buy the materials. Yeah. They want to buy the unfolded pocket folds. Yeah. And they want to buy the backing cards, and they want to buy the envelopes, and that's fine too if they want to buy it, because some people are really into that whole sort of thing, and they're really into the cold
they wanna
craft
make their
kind
own
of thing,
thing,
and
yeah.
you know, they'll do a great job of it. But a lot of people do seriously underestimate it. Like we've sold materials to clients who will then ring us up 2 or 3 weeks later and say, "Can you put them together for me?"
Exactly.
Because they start to realise the undertaking, and like
Yeah.
we've got special glues or special cutting machines and all that kind of stuff, as opposed to sitting there at 1 o'clock in the morning, you know,
Yeah, I know
the
what you
day
mean.
before your deadline, trying to
Yeah.
get stuff done with no help from himself. And
I think we're being too heavy on the grooms here now. I think the grooms, I have the burn scars from putting the wax on the invitations.
Right.
When we put our invitations out. So, you know, we put in the effort
usually,
as well.
usually I can spot when the grooms are interested, because they're the ones asking the most questions in the consultation.
Yeah.
Because we often do consultations with couples, and if the groom's asking a few too many questions, then you say, right, he's quite into this. So you say, you know, did you do art in school, or are you into it? And they say, yeah, I did art. You know, I like it. And that.
Yeah.
So sometimes they'll even provide us with the design. They'll even say to us, I'll even say to them, if you feel free, you can design something if you want, and that can go onto the card, and we'll just add the typography, and you know that happens sometimes.
I suppose when it comes out to, we'll say, so they've got the invitation at this stage and a whole lot, we'll say, what's the kind of, and again, we'll say your opinion on this, we'll say, but what's the most efficient way of them sending out the invitations? Do most people literally just post them out, or do they do it by hand, or like what do you find?
I think most people do post it.
Yeah.
Carrier pigeon, Richard.
Carrier pigeon. They're still doing that. But we're not talking about your wedding, Nick. I know it was a long time ago, but you know, I think they don't use the carrier pigeons anymore.
Yes, most will post.
Yeah.
But and like some people don't like. When you're living in a small town, you could very easily hand deliver half your stuff.
Yeah.
And it's another way of cutting cost.
Yeah,
But a lot of people don't want to be seen to do it. And I say, just go and bloody hand deliver them out. You know,
Yeah.
go around on a weekday where, you know, when people aren't home, because otherwise you're going to get sucked into about 20 million conversations.
exactly.
They go on for about an hour, and then you're
Yeah.
delivering all day. So
Well, because I know we say couples that I've spoken to in the past, and they kind of said to me that they had to kind of do it by hand because they didn't know the exact addresses. They knew that they were, like, if they were abroad or whatever, they'd drop to the parents' house and stuff like that. So at least they had a better way of getting them to them, because they mightn't have, like, you've all these people that you're inviting, but very rarely do we kind of fill out the addresses. Like, you wouldn't know where everybody, your guests are living.
Yeah.
And like, I know a lot of couples, you know, I've said to them in the past, you know, you'd have a spreadsheet and start typing in all the addresses and the whole lot, and then spit out your labels, that kind of way. But like, a lot of times they're ringing aunts and uncles and the whole lot to find out what's the address of this person, what's the address of that person as well. You know, so there's a lot to go in after you've gotten the invitation, the whole lot, to getting them to the guests as well.
Sometimes what they'll do is they might not know where certain cousins are living.
Yeah.
So they'll just send them all to the aunt's house, and a big chunk of them go through the letterbox in one go.
Yeah.
You know, and do it that way.
Very good. I think we touched on it with earlier on, but we're saying, like, when should couples start planning their invitation? Like, what's your kind of advice on that?
I think it's nice. It's quite nice when they give us a shout about a year before.
Yeah.
Because it just gives enough time. It gives enough time for the bride and the groom to think about what they're looking for, and because their tastes change as well. You know, because when they really start looking at considering invites, that's when they really start thinking. They really start noticing them. They really start to notice invites, whereas previously they might not have, and their tastes will change from month to month. So a year in advance is good, because that's when they start really kind of, you know, really looking at them, and you know, and even as far as 8 months is still handy enough for us. Having said that, we've had people at the last minute, you know, we had a couple from Dublin there ringing us up about 6 weeks before their wedding, and they just said, we need to get this stuff sorted really quick. And because we work so far ahead of ourselves, you can kind of push everything aside. Yeah. And you can knock it out quite handy for them, and get it delivered to them, and they can still get them out on time.
So it's never too late.
It's never too late. Yeah.
I suppose we'll say from the other end then, we'll say they've got the invitations. When should couples normally send out invitations? What's kind of the proper etiquette in that?
There's quite a lot of stuff on that. Generally speaking, 6 to 8 weeks is what
6 to 8 weeks,
is
what's
what it is.
Expected,
That's what's expected.
Yeah.
We generally say to couples, go for the 8 week mark. We try to have everything done about 10 weeks before.
Okay.
So that gives 2 weeks grace in case there's any kind of problem.
Yeah.
We had a client there a couple of years ago, and they spilt half a pint of water over their invites.
Oh no!
And they had a very specific type of black card. It was a pocket fold invite, and we had to get this card in from Italy, and so it allowed us to get more card, get the rest of it made up, and get them get them back to the clients.
Fantastic.
And everything was still out within the time.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, see, that's what it comes back to. Like I say, one thing we're trying to do is with brides, grooms, and couples out there is to educate them that, look, you know, most of them, this is the first wedding, the whole lot. Like, you really do need to go to the professionals. You need to go to people who know what they're doing. And like that, it's the customer service and everything that it comes back to, that we're always preaching to suppliers out there, look, is that they're coming to professionals for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, we've done this over time and time again. They put their trust in us, and that's kind of where it shows, you know.
That's right, yeah.
I suppose going back to the invitations, we'll say, what should they include in the invitation? So you've got the invitation itself.
Yep. You want your date and your venue.
Date and your venue.
And RSVP details.
Okay. And is the RSVP normally to RSVP to a number or to an email? I've said no. Some of them now they're RSVP to an email address.
Yeah.
Or is it to like an address? Like, do people still put in the RSVP cards?
Some do, but what's most popular is text.
Text, yeah.
Basically, but the best thing is what I reckon is the best thing is one email address and one phone number.
Yeah.
Some people want to put in 2 email addresses plus 2 work email addresses, and then two phone numbers and a landline phone, and it's too much, and they lose track of how they're being contacted.
Yeah.
You know, how people are replying to them, they lose track of it. So the best thing is one phone number, one email address.
Brilliant.
Of course, a lot of people now these days as well, we find here in the shop, they set up a specific
That's the best
Email
job.
address, yeah.
email,
Yeah.
so that, you know, everything to do with the wedding
Yeah.
comes from,
That's it.
goes to
Yeah.
the one email
John
address.
Wed's Mary 2017@gmail.com. That's the best job, and just
Yeah.
use that and a phone number, and then have on your spreadsheet. Just it's quite handy to actually put in, you know, how someone has replied. Is it email? Is it text?
Yeah,
is
exactly.
Is it by phone? Because
Yeah.
it's very easy. Let's say if you're at some you know, big weekend away, you could be at some big do somewhere, and the next thing a text comes through. Yeah, I'm coming to the wedding, and then you forget how's that come through. You forget, has that person replied? But it's come through on Viber or something, and
Well, that's it. Like, you've got WhatsApp, Viber, all these other things, and and like that's the one thing with the text messages. You know, if somebody loses their phone or whatever, and they've got all those messages of people who are going to the wedding.
Yeah.
You know, so I've heard a lot of couples using WhatsApp because you know, it's stored in the cloud. So if you do change phones, or if you've 2 or 3 phones, you know, it's all in the cloud and the whole lot.
That's right. It can be handy like that.
So
do you know one other thing that's quite important for the interior of a wedding invite is the name of the name or names of exactly who you're inviting. Because you might have a mum and dad and 3 kids, but you only want the parents to come to the wedding, and you can really specify just by having their names in. You might see a lot of these American invites these days, and it will say, you know, John and Mary request your presence at the wedding, but there's not actually a specific name there, or there's not a specific line for where you write the name in. And we had a client recently who sent us her text to appear like in these American invites. So we printed them all out for her, and then we posted them to her. And then she rang us about 2 days later saying, where do we put the names? And I said, what do you mean? And because her wording was done up to an American style invite. So we printed them all again for her.
Well, that was one of the questions I had, was like, about and I was saying it was kind of a controversial question, but like, if couples are having an adult only wedding, I would say, how can they make it clear to the guests that it's just
that's a little bit of a difficult
I suppose one way, like, you have the names specifically, you know.
Yeah, that's like that can be a bit difficult. If you can put the names on, then you can specifically say it's, you know, if the kids aren't on the list, it's that hint that, you know, no kids.
And so the other thing kind of I was thinking was say when should they kind of make the deadlines for the RSVPs?
There's one way you can do it is you check with the hotel. When does the hotel want to know at the latest?
Okay.
Generally speaking, we say a month in advance is good. A month is good because and what always happens is it always runs over. You know, they'll say, you know, the 1st of July is my RSVP date, and I've only got 4 replies. Yeah. You know, and the thing to bear in mind is that we live in Ireland and things are relaxed here.
Everything takes
time. Things are relaxed and laid back, and sure, I'll do it tomorrow. That's what happens. And, you know, we don't live in Germany where you'll get those replies back.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
straight away
in June.
And some of that. Yeah. I suppose we'll say from the perspective of we're talking about the personal wedding email address, we'll say as well. But I've noticed kind of a couple of invitations we've got for weddings, people using personal wedding websites. So their invitation might just have the details, as in you're invited to the wedding, blah, blah, date, RSVP. and then a link to for more information on accommodation and all that. Use the website. Is that something you see happening more? Or
We see that happening more, yeah. We do see that happening more, and that's quite handy actually, having a situation like that, because you can have so much more detail using your wedding website.
Yeah.
One other thing that we do see happening is in a sort of a similar vein is where some people are either foregoing the invite or considering foregoing the invite, and then having an electronic invitation.
Yes.
Where it comes in via email, and that's something that's happening. It's kind of rubbing people up the wrong way, though.
Yeah, I would have
sort
considered
of saying, if I'm coming to your big
never got the
day
email.
and I'm
spam.
well, so that's a lot of the time it goes into spam or it doesn't get seen.
Yeah.
But some people are rubbed up the wrong way a bit. I'm taking a day off work for this. It's costing me money to go to your do.
Yeah.
I've got to put money in a card. As bad as that sounds, but that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
And at least send me an invite that might even cost €1 or 50 cents.
Let me know I'm
Get
coming.
on AliExpress now and get something in print form out to me.
Do couples still? And again, this is probably traditionally would say, and again, it's not really down here. It happens, but more in Dublin and kind of cities and stuff. Do people still kind of use a registry and put that in the card, as in like Brown Thomas or Evoca or whatever like that? Is that something you see very often
for gifts and things
gifts
like
and
that?
stuff like that?
Yeah, not too often.
No.
I think people find it quite cheeky.
I would consider, yeah.
People find it cheeky.
Kind of, yeah.
My mate was marrying an American girl, and it's standard form in America to have a situation like that. It's they find it just makes things easy.
Yeah.
You can just. And actually, when they got married, it was quite easy because you just knew.
So on the website, we go for the forks and knives.
I think it depends a lot, Richard, on whether or not they have a house together.
Yeah, if it's a couple that kind of that they've already got an awful lot. It's like what you get the person has everything, that kind of way, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly.
But I just noticed that with a couple of weddings that they had a registry card inside, and here's the address to go to, and it was all done online. You go to Brown Thomas and here was the list, and this is what's already been got, and this is what's left. So
That's
get in early and get
and
the
all that's left is these really expensive Egyptian cotton towels.
Yeah, exactly.
No, right, money in the card. 60 fags.
I suppose the other side of it then would say is like dress code and stuff like that. Like, do people normally put in the invitation like that it's a black tie or anything like that, or?
Yeah, if there's a dress code there, there could be a wedding that might be they want all the brides to wear cocktail dresses. Sorry, not the brides, all the female guests to wear cocktail dresses, or it could be black tie. We did one recently; it was black tie, and it was stipulated in just a line of text there saying make sure you get your tux.
Yeah,
in a polite way.
Yeah.
But yeah, if that's what they're going for.
It's something actually I never thought of until recently, that I went to a wedding that was black tie, and I would have been better in black tie as well. I wouldn't have stood out as much.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough. I was wearing the black shirt, and the
Right.
suit was kind of grey, so I kind of got away with it. But it's something, I suppose, that the dress code is becoming more important. That like people, if they want a black tie, they want all their guests to be wearing it.
Yeah.
Which is
But we had one bride. They went for. What was she asking for? I think she wanted to have everybody in tuxes because she felt that it created a standard, because she thought that she'd lived abroad for a long time.
Yeah.
She felt that Irish fellas perhaps didn't maybe dress as nicely as in the previous country she was living, and so she said tuxes because she felt that brought everyone up to one level.
Yeah,
and,
I always think that's kind of unfair, because the guys, well, actually, it's easier on the guys because they know exactly what to wear. But the ladies can wear pretty much whatever they want, but the guys all have to wear tuxes.
Yeah.
So everyone for themselves. We'll say, from kind of your opinion, I suppose what you've seen go out on invitations, do couples tend to invite every guest with a date or a +1, as in like, do they normally say John and Mary, or would it say John plus guests?
Yeah, John plus guest. If you don't know the name, or if you.
John plus
I suppose it's standard etiquette where you can, like sometimes you'll have that, maybe like John plus girlfriend, and I'll ring them up and say you're better off having plus guests.
Yeah.
Or plus guest sounds better than +1.
Yeah.
I'll ring them up and say to them maybe consider having that instead.
Yeah.
Or that it might say John Mahoney plus guest. So you have to ring them up and say don't have the surnames in the card.
Yeah,
just leave that for the outside.
Exactly.
You don't need it.
Yeah, I suppose it makes sense. I suppose, is there a different invitation used? Kind of, some weddings you would have a certain amount of people invited to the ceremony and the reception, but then you have some people invited to the afters.
Yeah.
Is it generally a different invitation card that's given for the afters?
Yeah, well, like the way that we'll do it is we do like an A6 postcard type of card, because it's very easy to produce. It's very cheap to produce. People don't want to spend a lot of money on an evening invitation.
Yeah.
And it's because it's more of a gesture really than anything else. So we tally it up. We actually have a standard format, and then we tally it up with the day invitation, so it matches, and they still look lovely, but they're a lot quicker to produce.
So A6 would be a quarter of an A4.
Quarter of an A4, yeah.
So you get an A4 sheet.
So you can tie them up on an A3 or an A2, and just print a load of them out. Then it's nice and handy.
Very good. I suppose we'll say when people are replying, is it quite common for people to put in like a self-addressed envelope and a kind of RSVP card in a lot of cards? And also, like, are they given plenty of options to reply, or is it kind of just reply by email or text, or the card, or?
It varies. I have to say, right, a lot of people are not so keen on RSVP cards now because, again, it's another expense. But the really handy thing about an RSVP card is you can get a lot of information onto it. Like with my own wedding invite there, I think we just have one that says please RSVP by the 22nd of April, and phone number and an email address. But when you've got something like one of these where you've got an RSVP information there, you can say your dietary requirements: vegetarian, gluten free, other. Please specify. People might put in a line of text saying, tomorrow we're all having a barbecue at this particular pub at 5 o'clock. Yeah. Please tick if you're going to attend it. So with the RSVP, you can get a lot of information onto that. So they can be really useful. Yeah, they can be awful handy.
Do people put on it as well not to take photographs for social media and stuff like that? Is that popular these days?
Yeah, we're always being asked, how can I word that in a polite way? Because you can't say, don't take any pictures at my wedding, because people think, who do you think you are? Yeah. So how can we word it in a nice way or a polite way?
Well, I suppose that kind of leads into, we were talking about, we'll say wedding invitations, but like wedding stationery is not just the invitations. Like, is there other wedding products that you do? I know we've seen kind of in the past where we've seen table signs or, stuff that yourselves would do. Would that come across in that more than?
There'll be things like, place name cards, escort cards. There's the place name card is the little card that goes on the table, and the escort card is when you walk into the reception, you'll have a load of cards, just like a place name card, but they're all just left at the door all together, and you have to find it yourself. So it will just say, John Brown, table 6. So you're at table 6, but you don't know who's at table 6 with you.
So you can't go. Idea, actually, I like that.
So you can't go like, I'm at a rubbish table. I'm sitting next to him. I wish I was at that table because all my mates are there. So you
can't swap around or anything.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't know what table you're at, and it's when you get to the table, you have to make your introductions. Yeah. So it's a good way of getting people mixing.
That's a really good idea. Actually, I like that idea.
Oh yeah, it's handy enough.
Patrick, just in relation to the tables and stuff, do you do the table plans for people?
Yeah, table plans. Yeah, we do quite a lot of them. And table numbers as well. We do those as well.
I love to see that at the wedding. The table plan, the little card on the table, and there's so much thought and effort put into it. I love to see those. It just kind of, because when we go into, like, when I'm photographing, we say a wedding, and I go into the reception and I want to photograph the room, I'm looking for details.
Right.
And normally you'd have the hotel would have like a 9 or a 6 or whatever in the whole lot. It's lovely to see kind of a lovely table number put up there, table card. Or it'll be countries or places where they've been and stuff like that.
That's right.
See,
Superheroes is a popular.
Superheroes is popular, or maybe rivers. What happens is, right, that they used all the most famous ones, Amazon, Thames, that kind of thing. Then they start running out of rivers. So if they say if there's 25 tables, it's surprising how there's only really about 10 really famous rivers. After that, people start running out of them, or famous lakes, or waterfalls or something. And sometimes what happens is we'll do the table plan, we'll do the escort cards, or maybe place name cards, and then you say, "What about your table numbers?" And they'll say, "Oh, the hotel's doing that for us." And it's going to be basic ivory card with Times New Roman.
Yes, exactly. That's what I mean.
Just very standard A5. So when it goes into the little stand, it's kind of flopping over
all over.
And you go, you don't want table numbers. They go, no. So you go, go on, we'll just do them anyway for you.
One of the nicest ones I think I've seen is when they do album covers. I was at a wedding recently where they did DVD covers or there was actually VHS cassettes
Right.
with the tapes in them, dictating who was the names of the tables,
right.
which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Have you seen the one, Mick? I saw it on some website recently about the table selfie that they now have. Like, they'd have the normal stand for the card.
Yeah.
But there's now a camera, and basically there's an app, and you basically. I don't know how it works. You scan the code or something, and the camera rotates and takes your photo.
Right.
So it's replacing kind of the table names and the whole lot.
Right. That's
But the
good.
problem is that people don't know what table, because what's happening is that the camera's constantly turning.
Right.
So they're not able to see, so the camera could be at that angle, so they're not able to see what number they're at.
Right. I
So
see.
they're having to change the table name cards that they're kind of triptych or and then you can see all the way around. So very clever, but I think it's a bit much.
There's always new developments. That's the thing.
Always something new.
There's always something new, is right.
How are we doing, Mick, on social media? Have we anything there?
No.
Okay, I've gone through nearly anything at all, or everything there. I suppose, is there any other kind of invitation you want to show us?
I'll tell you
I think
one thing is mass books. We get asked a lot about doing mass books, or ceremony booklets, really, I should say. And we would do a kind of a normal, A5 booklet that's stapled, and but they're quite pricey to produce. And so what we started doing was, again, we got asked by someone, could you do an all-in-one
lovely. I like
booklet that fits onto an A4
sheet? Yeah.
So we asked the bride, do you have any examples? And she sent 2 of them to us, so we could see, and we could see what was there, and just kind of do our own version of it. So what we do is we take the day invitation, and then we have the official, if it's, say, a Catholic mass, we've got the official mass text, and we send that out to the client, and then they copy and paste in all their prayers, and if they're having a religious ceremony, and then we do the layout and print them out so it all matches. It all works out well. And that kind of size is nice because it fits into a breast pocket. People tend to keep them rather than leaving them in the church afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. And it stands, which I like.
Oh, yeah.
I have to photograph them.
And it's standing up there like that.
Yeah, that looks fantastic.
And we have the card that matches in with it, and we'll put in lots of little details, like putting putting the name of the bride and groom and the whatever the motifs are and things like that. So and we edit the text down as well, because you don't have to have everything.
Yeah,
we just do the kind of the main speaking parts, like the prayers of the faithful, first and second reading, that kind of thing. But and we do them as well for non-religious ceremonies.
Brilliant.
They're usually a bit more concise. Yeah. So we have to bring in more design elements, and but they're very popular as well.
Very good, very good. Well, look, I have run out of questions. I think we've covered pretty much everything to do with wedding stationery. But I suppose if anybody wants to contact you out there, I suppose let us know kind of how people can get in contact with yourselves.
The main thing is first of all, our website is patrickbrowne.ie. But that's, I suppose it's a more general graphic design, web design website, but it does have examples of wedding stationery on there.
And it's BROWNE.
That's right, E at the end.
Yeah.
Patrick Browne with an E. .ie, or they can email me at hello@patrickbrownedesign.com, or they can phone me on 086 831 9322. We do free consultations.
Great.
They're very handy.
Yeah.
If people want to meet up, and we just sit down with them and we show them the work in more detail. I mean, we have clients from Cork, or even clients living in generally Irish people who are living in the Middle East or living in Australia. Yeah. We can talk with them on Skype and send samples out to them. But if people are in the country, especially if they're sort of in Connacht, then we can meet them and go through everything in more detail. It takes about an hour. There's no charge, and they don't have to sign up with us. It's not a case of get them in the room and get them to sign up. It's more of a case of show them the work.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
They go off and decide what they want to do, and 9 times out of 10 they come back and book with us then, because they know the detail that we go into with the work and that kind of thing,
Okay, fantastic. Yeah. Well, I think that's where we're going to leave it tonight. Thanks a million, Patrick, for joining us tonight.
Thanks very much.
And remember, guys, this is basically live on Facebook at the moment, but we'll also have it on our YouTube channel, so make sure to subscribe to MyWeddingStore.ie, and you'll be able to watch this show. I think once we end it, I think it plays literally after it and a whole lot.
Can I just mention what's coming up next week, Richard?
Yes, do please.
Next week we have David Walker from Occasion Jewelers.
Oh, very good.
So we're going to be looking at rings and different things like. No, that's the following next
following week. Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, no, next week. What's on the menu?
Yes.
So
yes, food.
We definitely
Oh.
we definitely have one chef organised.
Excellent.
And we possibly might have a second one joining us as well. So they'll be giving us their tips and advice in relation to food.
Yep. Beef or salmon?
Beef. I'd be a beef.
Are you a beef man or salmon man?
I'd be a beef man. Honestly,
Beef man or salmon, Patrick?
I used to always be salmon, but yeah, salmon's not good.
Oh, beef all the time. Listen, that's it for tonight, guys. Thanks a million for joining us. Remember, you can watch us every week at 8:30 on Facebook Live, MyWeddingStore.ie. And thanks, Patrick, for joining us. And we'll see you next week. And thank you to Mick as well, who's trying to end the stream there at the moment. Hopefully he has ended by now, and I'm not just talking over this. He doesn't know what he's doing. Oh, lovely.